A new season of GT4 European Series gets underway here at Paul Ricard. The cars making their way from the pit lane onto the circuit for the first part of qualifying. We have one qualifying period split into two sessions, one determining the grid for race 1, the other for race 2. But then we halve those again to try to give people clear track space, so the entry split into two groups, and so we're already into Q1A. That's what comes next. Then there's a 5-minute break, and then you get into the second qualifying session, again split into the two groups. David Addison and Joe Osborne are trackside, and as ever, it is a busy grid. Some really interesting driver combinations. It's another wide open season.
Yeah, really going to be. It's hard to call already. 40 cars on the grid. In this first part of qualifying, we see 21 silver class cars stream out around this Paul Ricard circuit. Perfect motorsport temperature here. It doesn't get much more perfect than Paul Ricard. Look at that private airport in the background, if your budget allows you. And if not, you can just drive these cars around the circuit. And we've got our reigning champions back, which are going to be an obvious contender to keep an eye on. But we've got some strong cars all the way down the field.
Yeah, the reigning champions are Benjamin Lariche and Robert Consani, and the Audi R8 is the car that they use. Now, go back, what, 2 seasons? I think theirs was the only Audi on the grid. Then they became a bit more popular last year. And we're talking about quite an old car in GT4 terms, but it's still really competitive.
Really isn't. It's stopped its production now. It's so old, but
yeah,
it's so competitive. And it seems very drivable, doesn't it? We saw it so many times last year where it was okay in the corners, but straight line performance really helped it. Here's another car with good straight line performance, the Ford Mustang GT4.
Of which there are cars from Team Floral, as well as the British Academy Motorsport team. There is one of the aforementioned Audis heading up towards the end of the lap, and in different colours this year. The team speed car entry of Robert Consani and Benjamin Lariche. It is Benjamin at the wheel of the car as driver 1, so he does Q1. So the McDonald's colours have gone, but Team Speed Car knows that car inside out. The drivers know it inside out. They know each other very well. It's a partnership that's survived for many, many seasons.
Yeah, they almost act like brothers, don't they, in and out of the car. They've got such a great understanding, and that really helps in terms of keeping the setup where they both want it. But maybe when one driver hasn't got the confidence, the other one knows how to pick them up and get them going again. Another manufacturer, the BMW, the M4 GT4, and this Borisan automotive car was super quick at times last year, wasn't it? And had a relatively large amount of bad luck, and that's why I think mainly they weren't involved in the championship.
For number 12, the Borisan car, Gabriele Piana, back again. Previous champion both in this and also in the German GT4 Championship. He's got another new co-driver, Tommy Rackel, this year. Piana, one of the drivers switching over the course of the weekend from GT3 to GT4 machinery and back again. How hard is that?
Really difficult. The GT4, 90% road car, GT3, 90% race car. So he's lucky in regard that it's the Mercedes GT3, so it's a front engine car like the BMW, but there'll be no references that cross-contaminate positively. Braking points, different gears, speeds, everything. And he didn't have the happiest of qualifyings earlier, did he, in the GT3 sessions?
No, when he had a wheel come loose with a broken wheel nut that stopped the car on effectively his outlap, and a red flag in the GT3 session for GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS. Right, lots of drivers weaving around, trying to get the warmth into the Pirelli tyres. That's another car you're looking at that's been competitive over the years, number 15, which is Luc Ibanez. And again, Alex Papadopoulos, the American driver, joins in for another season.
Yeah, they were strong at times. What was it, Mazzano, wasn't it? They were very good. Some good overtakes from this car. But the Mercedes, unlike the Audi, didn't seem to have the straight line performance, has to generate it in the corner. So qualifying will be a positive for this car, I'm sure. Just looking at Lariche's sectors, they're okay. Last year, pole position was an Audi, but Paul Petit, it was a 2:11.4 was the fastest lap. I think he's probably on for a mid to high 2:12 to set the benchmark for the first car across the line.
So busy session, everyone looking for clear track space. Does a tow help in a GT4 car around here? Is it better to have a tow for a bit of a lap, or just a completely clear lap?
You'd always want a clear lap in qualifying. It's It's still beneficial compared to GT3, and you lose less because the car is generating its grip from downforce less, so the dirty air is less of an issue. But yeah, no tyre ovens is the bigger problem for these guys. They've got to get the tyre in the window. And again, yes, last year we saw the Audi able to do it on an outlap and then push, whereas most need an outlap and a prep lap then push. And the problem with the split session is you've effectively only got 10 minutes to do your time.
So you've got to deliver, and therefore one of the things you can't do, added to not getting caught up in traffic, is abuse the dreaded track limits, and it's very easy to do it here.
Massively. It's almost every single corner exit there's a track limit warning. Turn 2 is probably the hottest spot we've seen today, and already a car has lost its lap time for that. The CRT Sport Toyota has lost a track limit, so you will see cars suddenly disappear from that timing tower, and that is because they lose the whole lap, even for one misdemeanor.
Yeah, Lucas Cartel has lost a lap time, for example. Let's see what Benjamin Lariche can do. A 2 minutes 14 is the better lap time that he has done thus far. Actually, only one driver has been done for track limits, and that is Cartel. As you look there at number 15, which is Luc Ibanez, who we first saw in this championship years back in a Ginetta, and then he switched to Mercedes, in which he's always gone very well, and he and Papadopoulos have made a good combination. Ibanez is the quicker of the two, but Papadopoulos over the years has started to up his game to match Ibanez, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, definitely. There wasn't too much disparity, it felt like, between the two by the end of the year, and I think that's exactly what this Mercedes will need to put a championship hunt on the go. It's also just consistency. We saw bits of damage, and you get one DNF, and then suddenly your championship has a big 0 on the scoreboard. And that's what all of these drivers will be trying to avoid, but we probably need to remind them tomorrow into turn 1 when 40 of them are hurtling in there.
Yeah, it's going to get busy then, that's for sure. Both races will be tomorrow for them as Ibanez comes up towards the end of the lap. The sector times being shown. Purple means better than anybody. Green means a personal best. So this is looking as though it's going to be a very good lap. Up to the top of the times has just gone 111, the Enrico Further Mercedes AMG, but now Ibanez NM Racing Team, Neil Montserrat Racing Team, Mercedes goes fastest by nearly half a second.
Yep, it was a good time at 12.1. Expect pole to be an 11 something, so it might not be just enough yet, but it puts the Ibanez car right where it needs to be.
And Greg Gilbert has gone second in the largely green speed car Audi. So Greg Gilbert up to second, and that puts Federer down to third. Fourth at the moment is Mies Houben, the Dutch driver, new to the championship this year with one of the Grunt & Go Toyota Supras as the drone hovers over turns 5 and 6. Great shot that, and you see the pace of the cars, you see how much curbs some of them try to use. In certain places around here they're flat curbs, in other places they're high curbs, and not only can that disturb the rhythm, it can actually damage the car.
Really can. It's not just the height, it's the serration as well, so you get that real aggressive vibration through the car. Probably the exit of Le Bousset is the worst, so turn 11 exit, and we see cars get flung into the air there and get away with it in qualifying, but too often in the race you can damage the suspension after a while.
So the clock ticks on down, and the fast lane's already open for the other half of the entry for this first session. So about a minute and a half for these drivers to finish setting lap times. And Benjamin Lariche, although you're looking at the sister car, Lariche, the reigning champion, he's only 8th, so he's got to try and find something before the cars head for the pit lane.
Yeah, the sister car here of Gilbert that we're looking is much happier in second at the moment, although not improving. You can see 2 orange lines next to his name on the timing tower. It looks like he's fully backed out of this as well to get some space, but he's only got a minute to get across the line, so he's got about 15 seconds spare to slow down, but he won't be able to slow down much more than that, otherwise this would be his final lap.
Trying to let the traffic go. At the foot of the times at the moment is the Race Lab McLaren of Robert Cronin, the brothers Robert and Colin sharing the car. Elder brother Keith, 4 times a British rally champion, so some of the family go rallying, others go circuit racing, and Colin Cronin has come out of the Porsche Cayman series in the UK, both of them with Ginetta experience. This, meanwhile, Greg Gilbert then heading up towards the line, but as Joe is making the point, he's pretty much backed out of that lap. Meanwhile, up towards the chicane here, bounces the Mercedes. This is the car of the SRO Motorsport by Schnitzelalm team, Enrico Further and Cedric Fuchs. It's Further for this session, and currently third fastest, going well.
Really well, and Ibanez has gone faster in another Mercedes in 11.9, so that's where we thought the lap time has to be. But Federer is not out of this yet. You can see from the sectors 1 and a bit tenths off, and then 8 tenths, so he's 2 tenths off at the moment. So if he finishes this lap as is, it should be a 2-minute 12.1. And that would be real close, because that's exactly the time that Gilbert has done in the Audi.
So the flag is out for the end of Q1A, and you can see how busy the road becomes briefly with the rest of the field out. So that gives you an idea of what it will be like on the first lap of the first race, with everybody on track, but qualifying split. This is the overlap where one batch finishes and pits, and the other batch leaves the pit lane and starts.
Yeah, so all of these cars are on their mix, an outlap versus an in-lap, and it's a clever way that everyone should get more of a clear lap, isn't it? It looks messy in this intermediate part, but no one's actually getting compromised as we go to our reigning champion going around Le Beausset. Looks like struggling with the front end there. You can see him running super wide, and at the moment this is not the way to start qualifying. Yes, there's a 1 on their position, but there's 2 of them. They're 11th.
Indeed so. So they dropped from where the car was when we last touched on it. It was 8th, it's now 11th, and Benjamin Lariche, okay, decent first sector, but he's lost time in the middle, so he might be able to improve a little, but I don't think we're thinking of this car anywhere near pole position, whereas the sister car of Greg Gilbert is already on the front row provisionally. This is Benjamin Lariche then up towards the timing line. Where can he improve to, if at all? 11th he currently is. Lariche breaks the beam, and from 11th goes nowhere. Stays 11th. Oh dear.
Yeah, I think the tyre's just gone, because the sectors were getting progressively worse, weren't they?
Yeah.
Like you said, David, sector 1 good, sector 2 okay, sector 3 terrible, and that's why he's 11th. That would be big head scratching, and that's going to get worse, because we've just had the Pro-Ams out on circuit. So we've got another 19 cars joining the 21 that have already set their times.
And if you're the pro in a Pro-Am car, then potentially you could be quicker than Lariche. So yeah, it's not just 11th, he could be a lot further down than that. Okay, qualifying different from racing, but if you're in the body of the field, you're in jeopardy for the first few corners. It is not the place you want to be.
No, we're going on board one of the pros. Hendrick's still here. He was very quick at times last year. Lost a few laps in qualifying due to track limits, so he'll want to tidy that up. But he's got a great amount of space as he comes out of the last corner. The whole pit straight is clear, so he'll be able to attack this. 7.5 minutes remaining. And where can he put himself in the mix of all those silver cars who've already registered their times?
Goes across the line. Hendrick still back for another season with WNS Motorsport in one of the very smart 718 Caymans, the GT4 RS Club Sport, down towards turn 1, then tries to avoid the curb too much. Higher curb on the inside of 2, lots of runoff on the outside.
Yeah, he's still on a prep lap, so you can see him weaving now, but that's why he wasn't using too much curb. When the tyre isn't fully inflated, it hasn't got the structure, so you can damage it. So the drivers are under strict instructions to stay off curbs until they see a particular number the tyre pressure has achieved. Normally about 1.4, 1.5 bar is safe. But Hendrick has got the experience. He knows if it's not going to be this lap, why is there any risk in using a curb? And that's why we're seeing a relatively sedate lap at the moment. This is just another build lap to get the tyre in the window.
Rebs rising, speed building on the run along the Mistral, which is kind of hard really here. It's broken up by the chicane. The pro drivers in the GT World are able to do the full straight, but here with lots of AMs on the grid, then break it up, give them that confidence. There was a car on the right-hand side which has had to bail because Hendrick still was not for letting him by. He didn't want to get behind any traffic, did he?
He really didn't. I think it was the 27 car, the Porsche from Nova Racing, was alongside him, wasn't he, in the brake zone, and Hendrick still just rolled off the brake. So he's obviously trying to sort of manage the pace here. He's the lead car of this group, so he's got the best space. Doesn't want to go too fast and destroy the tyre, but doesn't want to go too slow and lose track position.
This is Senior, drops it down a gear as he fights the car through. It looks a bit of a handful there at relatively low speed, and then into Le Beausset here, which is another long corner.
Yeah, it doesn't look great, does it? This is going to be the best the car ever feels. Low fuel and new tyres at their peak. And the prep has looked good, but as soon as he starts leaning on the car and feeling what he's got underneath him, I'm happy I'm sat in the commentary box, not in that Porsche.
Not that we have anything against Caymans, I hasten to add, but yeah, this is a not terribly compliant one as he gets towards the Virage du Pont. Now, if this is perfect, he'll pull the pin and go for a quali lap, and if it is a quali lap, and it has to be now really with the clock ticking, this could be quite a wild ride.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what he's got. Was he inducing a bit of that oversteer in the corners to see what car he's got underneath him? I doubt that, because you're going to take some life out of the tyres, but we'll soon see as he gets towards the end of Sector 1 what he's got.
Looked a bit nervous there as the clown liveried car comes down towards turn 3. So Hendrik Still, very experienced driver. He's been a class champion, race winner. Dives now down towards turn 3 into 4. Hard on the brakes, down to first gear in a GT3 car for this. Turn 5, really tight. You can see the curb on the outside. Grabs a gear, holds that. Speed builds all the way around turn 5, 6 there. This is 7 that puts you onto the Mistral. Doesn't look that bad now.
No, the balance looks okay. The time's not great, so that 3/10 plus is to Abanyev, who was on pole, but also purple in Sector 1. So at the moment, this isn't going to struggle. To be a pole position lap. The Porsche quite even with how it makes its lap time, so it hasn't got particularly strong or weak sector, whereas some of the cars we spoke about earlier have their strengths and weaknesses. The Porsche is almost in the middle of every attribute.
What he's also done, actually, and we saw the importance of doing it, is keep himself in clear track space. He wasn't letting anybody through. He remains with a nice, clear racetrack ahead of him. But is the car able to exploit it? Hendrik Still then turns here through senior. Of course, he's doing personal best sectors because it's his first proper flying lap.
He's actually bringing Helston behind him in the 27. The slipstream was seemed to be worth 3 kilometres an hour in the speed trap at the end of the Mistral Straight. So actually the 27 car behind we can now see quicker on the sectors. So at the moment it's going to be the 27 car, the quickest out the Pro-Am that we're watching.
Yeah, Edwin Helston behind as Hendrik Still powers on then, heading up through the Virage de la Tour down towards the Virage du Pont at the end of the lap. The pit lane entry on the right-hand side. You can see very busy grandstands overlooking that last corner as he hits the brakes and turns short right, gets back onto the power now. And then up towards the timing line, Hendrik Still's first flying lap. Will that break him into the top 21, which were all the cars from the Silver Cup? He goes across the line. It does. It puts him briefly 11th, but then down to 12th as Helston behind goes 5th overall.
Mega lap. We thought it was going to be strong, didn't we, from the visual gap to himself and Still, but that's a mega go. Diasti in the Lotus, that just gave him to shot as the fastest Pro-Am, now up to 5th. But at the moment, the Silvers have made a really good account of themselves, and all of these cars have only got time for 2 more laps. There
is Stefano D'Aste then, who goes through. The Lotus, having gone really nicely last year, come back even stronger. And there's a second Lotus, the drivers of which have all graduated from Lotus Cup Italy. So Stefano D'Aste has lost his Pro-Am pole now, incidentally, to Victor Bouveng in one of the BMW M4s, which is that car. So Victor Bouveng 4th overall. That also now translates to Benjamin Lariche, the reigning champion from Silver, being 15th on the grid.
Yeah, this could quite easily be outside the top 20 by the end of this session, couldn't it, for our reigning champions? And that's something that they just didn't have last year. So it's going to test their mettle pretty early on to see what their resolve's going to be in the race. This is obviously only race 1 at the moment affecting him. But is that going to be a problem going forward for Gilbert as well?
Yeah, Gilbert's car is on the front row provisionally, and it'll be interesting to see what the pace of number 1 Audi when it becomes Robert Constantini is like in the second session, when it's, you know, all bets off, different drivers reset. The one car in the entry with a solo driver is another Audi, in fact Julien Ricard, another ex-rally man, as there is Lotus number 56, which is Massimiliano Schiavone, rookie. Stefano D'Aste's Lotus as well, you can see going through. D'Aste now is 6th in the times, D'Aste in 26. Had a look at the other Lotus early on in the lap. The other lap time there being offered up, Charlie Robertson, who is now a McLaren driver, very late switch. He and Ravi Ramid at one point were going to be with L'Espace Bienvenu in a BMW, and then within about, the last 3 weeks, if that, the decision was taken to go and have another McLaren with Eddie Ives' Elite Motorsports squad. So Charlie Robertson, who for so long was being constantly pigeonholed as only a Ginetta driver, has in recent years been a BMW and now a McLaren driver, proving to people that as ponies go, there is Charlie Robertson's car. He can do many a trick. What they haven't got around to doing yet is painting it.
It's quite a good illustration of how late the deal's done when it's in factory spec white, isn't it? And yeah, both him and his teammate Ravi have had to just get on board. They had one day in the car before it came here, and that's it. So these guys are going to have a difficult weekend, albeit their talent will make up for some of the lack of testing, but it's not how you want to start your season.
Ravi Ramyid, who has been a successful businessman, now has time on his hands, and I gather that's been spent usefully on the sim. So even if they haven't had time in the physical car, he's been doing a lot of simulated laps.
Nothing beats real world, unfortunately. And
oh, don't tell the gaming community that.
Don't get me wrong, I'm only saying that because I'm rubbish on the simulator myself. But yeah, it's just the change from a BMW that we're looking at that they were in to the McLaren. It is massive. And at the moment, this car is our fastest in this part of the session, but fourth overall, the Silver's still occupying the top three.
So there, Victor Bouveng goes through. He drives the car that is operated by the Schubert Motorsport team, very experienced BMW team. Joachim Walde, his co-driver of last year, back for another crack. Almost looked there as though Bouveng had bailed approaching the chicane. Just seemed as though the car slowed a little bit. The flag is out, so maybe the message has got through, but if you can't improve, don't worry. But he had improved in the first sector. All of this, by the way, has put Benjamin Lariche 18th on the grid. Now, Joe made the point that he might end up outside the top 20, and it's looking ever so marginal.
Yeah, really, isn't it? The tyres seem to have dropped off quite quickly, and Victor Bouveng doing a good job of getting out of everyone's way, but they will want that car back relatively soon so they can change the tyres, be another brand new set of tyres put on for the Q2 session.
That is the Schiavone Lotus, and look at this, personal best, absolute best. So Massimiliano Schiavone, who has graduated from Lotus Cup Italy. I don't necessarily think of Italians driving Lotuses particularly, but they do, and it's a popular series. And Schiavone here, 33rd in the times, might all of a sudden find himself right up at the pointy end. This has been a mega lap. So Schiavone now comes out of the Virage du Pont. He's up towards the timing line. The flag is out. The session is at an end. Schiavone was 33rd. Schiavone is 13th. Big improvement. Wasn't quite the improvement we thought it could have been, but even so, it catapults him up the order. Benjamin Lariche, 20th.
What we worried about, and
yeah,
it's happened. The prophecy has happened completely. Just going back to that Lotus quickly, I think NASA can save some money on the rockets. That thing down the back straight was 7 kilometers an hour quicker than any other car. Right. So I think if you turn that 90 degrees and point it upwards, it will go all the way to the moon and back. But that's good to see the Lotus running that sharp and to have 2 of them on the grid. Hopefully, this can be a turning point from the car from Hethel.
Yeah, Dastae and Alberto Nasca were class winners at least once last year, so we know the Lotus has the potential. It was a bit unreliable at times last year, but when it was going, it went well. Yeah,
and I think that's what we've just seen in qualifying, so they'll be happy at the PB Racing camp, won't they? And especially for your first season, it makes such a difference. You can see he's got his hand out the window trying to get some fresh air in short session, but intense. So even though it won't be the physical heat in the car, the pressure you've generated yourself in your own mind of what a good job you need to try and do is obviously trying to get some fresh air into that cabin.
And it could have been a better lap for Schiavone because the final sector was relatively slow. He lost time in that last sector. It started brilliantly with that personal best and absolute best that followed it, but then somehow he contrived to lose a little bit of time in the last sector. We didn't see much traffic around him as the cars there pour their way back into the pit lane, and others queuing up to go back out on track, ready for Q2. So there's a short break between, and the reason for this, as we made the point early on, is to give the drivers, give the teams chance to have a bit of clear track space. The importance of qualifying has always been there within the GT4 European Series, which continues to be a strong championship. You know, every year we're looking at 40-car grids, if not more.
Yeah, and 40 is almost the perfect number for GT4. We've seen some slightly higher grids over the years, but it just ramps up exponentially. The more cars you have, the more incidents you have, so you don't get that much green flag racing. So I think it's kind of found its natural happy piece, because some drivers have moved on because they weren't happy with the amount of incidences, and now we've got 40. I think we're going to see a lot more green flag running come race day.
So this is how we stand provisionally at the end of Q1. Luke Ibaniev taking pole position from Gilbert, and then its third fastest is the number 111 Mercedes of Enrico Federer. Victor Bouveng fourth, fifth quickest then is number 9. That is the Romeo Leurs Mirage Racing Toyota, and Stefano D'Aste sixth. David Helston seventh, ahead of Mies Hauben. Gustavo Xavier ninth, as you can see the rest of that 40-strong entry. Robert Cronin 38th, behind Julien Ricard. Davide Meloni gives way in a moment to Dan Paolo, that BMW 32nd. And Jagic Gedik's BMW a long way back. That's another of the Borusan cars. The two Borusan entries, 25th and 26th, but you'd expect them to be higher up than that. The same of Ruben Del Sar, his Toyota a long way back. New car for him. And newcomer Henry Josselin in the Gazoo Racing Sweden Supra, 24th. Henry Josselin having been a front runner in Ginetta Juniors and then GB4 single-seaters back in the UK. Q2A is underway. Cars on track.
So again, all the silvers, 21 cars will make their way out, and at the moment the silvers, they were 1, 2 and 3, weren't they, in Q1, so will race 2 follow a similar format, and you would actually, as a driver, want to be in the B session, one, because the track temperature is starting to come down now. We're local time, we're at 4:15, so it's getting cooler, and the rubber's building in as well.
Let's hear from the pole driver from Q1, Luc Ibaniev. He's with Bryn Lucas.
Well, it's been a few moments since you managed to secure that pole position, but 2 tenths up. It was a pretty decent lap for you out there.
Yeah, it was an amazing lap. We have 2 brilliant laps. Finally, I get it under the 12. It was a really good lap, and the car was amazing. The team did a really good job on everything. And now let's see in the race to keep fighting to the P1 or podium. Let's see.
Your fastest lap happened relatively early on in the session as well. So does that mean the track is gonna come to you tomorrow morning when it's a bit colder out there? What's the way it's going to work for you? Can you predict it?
My opinion, tomorrow morning will be more cold. Probably the track will be more fastest. Let's see all the cars if it's improving more or not. Now it's hot. I think that is an advantage for us. But yeah, tomorrow it's a new day, new race, and let's see on the start.
Certainly is. Well done.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Luc Ibaniev now gives the car to Alex Papadopoulos, with whom he has been a winner, although Ibaniev, fair to say, I think has been the quicker, but he's also the more experienced, both of the circuits and of the GT4 format, and he's been driving that Mercedes from before Papadopoulos joined in. So in terms of experience, Ibaniev was always going to be in the pound seats.
Yeah, the only thing as a driver, everyone learns at a different rate, don't they? He's probably peaked out quite quickly, and now he's just able to just find little bits of time because his mental capacity's open up, because he's not having to think about the car. And maybe that's what's going to happen with Papadopoulos this year as well, that he can then just start to concentrate on some other sort of marginal gain stuff rather than what does what in the car.
Ford Mustangs fan favourites. There you've got number 61 of Eric Evans from Academy Motorsport. A second car is here this weekend. Might not do the whole season, but Marco Signoretti is currently behind the wheel of 62. Number 11 BMW is another driver new to the championship for this year, Matti Yildirim. And the other car now, number 12, has Gabriele Piana behind the wheel, and I think that is Yildirim's car keeping well out of the way. And he's not the only one on the pit straight trying to let the traffic just wash by. Or is that Piana doing the equivalent thing? It's one of the Borusan BMs anyway.
Yeah, super aggressive. How slow they're going though, right? I kind of get it that they've got to try and find the space. Watching them into the last corner, I thought it was 11 AM tomorrow and race 1 had already started, but they're trying to find the space. The only thing I don't like about doing it there is it's over the start-finish line, so the next lap's already compromised. Yes, it's probably going to be a prep lap, so you're not losing your best. But if there were a red flag, you're going to have nothing on the board. Why not slow down earlier on in the lap to find the space? But I'm sure it won't transgress to be an issue later on in the session.
Now you're on board here in the elite McLaren with Harry Reynolds, another driver out of GB4. So Eddie Ives' team has been a champion team in GT4 with the McLarens in seasons past, as well as being a crack Ginetta outfit, and now single-seaters as well.
That window gets loose in the middle. That's not quite sure that's got through scrutineering. That, in case of a large accident, stops your arms flailing around and looks more distracting as anything as a driver. You see it going left to right, slopping around. That should be under so much tension it doesn't move a millimetre, let alone 2.5 foot it was looking like. But again, you can see the cars all bunched together, and by the end of this lap, they'll want to be in their own space. So this could be a busy sector 3 just for a bit of jostling to get some space.
You can see there the different layouts, but if you went straight on, you'd carry on up the Mistral straight. That's what the GT3 cars do this weekend. There is reigning champion Robert Consani, who now takes over from Benjamin Lauriche aboard the Team Speed car Audi, and we'll see whether he can get the car to a better grid position for the race that he will start, which is race 2. Consani, former rallyman, who's spent a lot of his time of late within the GT4 European Series, and his son Andy now racing in Formula 4. He was out in the Middle East Championship in the winter with Dad supporting him. So the Consanis now a very busy family. Andy as yet has not discovered the joys of GT racing. He's still focused on single-seaters, but we might see him on a GT grid before long.
Yeah, I'm surprised how bunched up everyone is. You can see the number 1 car barely behind the Toyota because he's tucked up so far behind. Is that because he doesn't think he's going to be that quick and he's not going to get held up, or has he just decided, I've still got nearly half of my session remaining, shall I just send it and see what happens? But yeah, I'm surprised some of these cars not finding more space.
The belated answer to a question of which BMW it was getting out of the way was Gabriele Piana's car, because we just had a time out of Battaglia, so it was Gabriele Piana using all its experience to good effect, getting out of the traffic. Okay, Joe's point about maybe it was not the perfect place to do it is up for discussion. This is number 111, which now is in the hands of Cedric Fuchs, the German driver, taking over from Enrico Förderer. And Fuchs is looking good. Clear air, clear track space, personal best, absolute best. The time he's aiming for is a high 2:13 to beat the current top time.
Yeah, it was an 11, wasn't it, on pole for Ibanez in another Mercedes. What's his sector's looking like? Maybe this is going to be more like a high 12 to 13 as he breaks the beam now. It's a 12.4, so actually the last sector tyres coming in well, so that's pretty close to the money, as now the pole position car from session 1 with the hands of Papadopoulos coming through onto the final part of the Mistral, looking good so far through sector 1, about to come through sector 2 now.
With about 3.5 minutes on the clock still as far as Q2A is concerned. In other words, he's not got many opportunities to improve the time. Turning now out of senior, this is Alex Papadopoulos then, so Cedric Fuchs is on pole at 2:12.486. Second fastest is currently number 6, which is the Speedy Motorsport Pedro Perino driven Toyota Supra. Supras seem to go really well around here. Okay, it's a nice fast circuit, grunty car, and a little bit further back, Cedric Seiler has just done the absolute, sorry, Clement Seiler, forgive me, has done the absolute best within the first sector. He's another driver who has been a previous class champion in the GT4 European Series history annals, and now Clement Seiler does 2 absolute bests, whereas Alex Papadopoulos, coming up towards the end of the lap, 7th in the times right now. Let's see what he can do. Papadopoulos is doing greens. We just had Paul Petit go second. Consani is up to 3rd, and over the timing line, Papadopoulos goes 2nd. That is Clement Seiler, who's a very enthusiastic father, a constant figure in the GT4 paddock. We're watching all of this. Clement Seiler heading to the end of the lap, but with 2 absolute bests and nobody to get in the way. This ought to be a good lap.
Yeah, this is going to be really strong, isn't it? Eric Evans went up there for a split second. It looks like he's lost the lap because of track limits. He has, hasn't he, at turn 10, so through senior. But what can this Aston Martin do? It's going to break the beam now. This is going to be right at the sharp end for this car, and it's been a great lap so far. 3 purples and 11.8, fastest lap we've seen.
All the cherries on the fruit machine. Ka-ching. Clement Seiler goes fastest by 0.319 of a second. Excellent effort that in the racing spirit of Le Mans car. So Clement Seiler, who goes under a Luxembourg license, takes over from Pedro Garcia, the Brazilian. And there's about 1 minute and 46 seconds of this session to go. We've got less than that now. So it's imminent to the checkered flag, really. Now, what about Robert Consani? Again, he's only 10th, whereas Gabriele Piana has turned around the BMW fortunes. Piana now up to 2nd.
Yeah, and the strange thing for Consani is the teammate, the sister car. Petit this time is in 5th, so it's not an Audi problem, is it? It's a car issue. They've got a different way on setup to the sister car. But at the moment, people are still improving. So short session, 10 minutes, but everyone's going to keep pushing. And look how much curb the 15 car of Papadopoulos there, chucked it up on the inside. And here we've got Piana, who's done a purple sector 1. Not sure what his sector 2 was at the moment, but Piana needs to try to see if he can do anything about the Aston Martin that's in front of him.
True enough. So Gabriele Piana needs to find 0.320 of a second to go pole, but we'll give him pole by 1,000th. The pit exit's now closed. The fast lane is open for Group B to get themselves ready. That is Piana goes through, and he has now done an absolute best and a personal best. So pole's possible for Piana here as he comes through Le Beausset. This is a driver who's doing GT3 and GT4 driving duties this weekend. He's the only one splitting his time between GT World Challenge today and GT4 across today and tomorrow, and we've got the races tomorrow qualifying today. The GT3 drivers in GT World Challenge Europe, powered by AWS Endurance Cup race from 6 until midnight tonight. Piana then into the last couple of corners. He's in the last sector, hits the curb, skips it up onto 3 wheels. And Gabriele Piana now up towards the timing line. It's his last shot at this, so let's see. Second in the times, he is. And can he get himself onto the pole? He can. Gabriele Piana does it then. A 2:11.609. That's quicker by 0.2 of a second. That's a good margin.
It's a mega lap. Hopefully it's good enough, because he was one of the first to take the checkered flag, because he slowed down at the start of the session. That lost him the ability to do another lap, but he'll be happy with that. 2 out of 3 purple sectors. Really strong lap.
There aren't many around that are doing greens, never mind purples. So behind him, Seiler, and then number 87, third fastest, the CRT T-Sport car of Hudson Schwartz, the American driver. He's another one that's backed out of it, seemingly. So I think possibly Piana's protected enough here. Road gets busy. This is Group B. So these are your Pro-Ams and Ams for 10 minutes.
It was advantage silver, wasn't it, in Q1 in terms of being the fastest, and that's going to stay that way. Now the Pro-Ams have their AM in the car. The silvers will probably dominate the top 20 still, so we'll keep an eye on where everyone is in class. Will be the more interesting element of this qualifying.
Number 6, Toyota, Pedro Perino on track. That's the car that he shares with Tomas Guedes, the Portuguese driver. So yeah, we never really saw the Toyota Supra in the British GT Championships GT4 class realise its potential, but in the European Series, in the French Championship, and indeed in GT4 racing in Asia, they've been really, really strong.
Yeah, they look good as well, especially over the curbs. They ride the curb so well. I don't know if that's Toyota's experience in the World Rally Championship, but yeah, the car really strong. And yeah, oddly in British GT, it never just took off, did it? Speedworks ran it, did a good job, and it looked quick at times, but never quite got the results it deserved.
There's the flag to round out Q2A, and over the timing line there is number 4, the Speedy Motorsport Supra of the Australian driver, Lachlan Everett, just to prove how international the GT4 European Series is. We've got Americans and Australians in it this year, as well as drivers from Sweden, from Romania, from Turkey, from Italy, from France, from San Marino, Spain, Turkey, Portugal, Netherlands, the UK, Spain. What else have I missed out? Israel, Alain Gabay coming back.
Romania.
Said that, Tudi Turachi, yeah, but yes, you're right. Romania is in there, and Belgium is the one I've missed. So yeah, a truly cosmopolitan lineup.
Yeah, it's the GT4 championship in the world, isn't there? There's all the domestic ones, but then when you bring them all together, then Europe is the place to be.
And it also, and the French championship similar, because that is purely GT4, but you know, British GT, we know it's really strong, but the GT4 class is always the subordinate one. Whereas here, you're fighting for an outright win. Even in a Pro-Am car, you can still mix it up front.
Yeah, and it's been competitive across, and I think the drivers love where they go. That's the big thing. When you see the circuits that they get to race on, they're world-class circuits.
What's wrong with Snetterton?
If you rephrase it, what's right with Snetterton, I could maybe answer.
Okay, fair enough. Right, Ginetta dodging Audi, spinning Lotus as well. An unusual Lotus position that for Massimo Abati, who's taken over from Stefano D'Aste. So what have we got now? 6.5 minutes, give or take, and all of a sudden it gets quite busy with cars scattered all over the circuit.
I think we saw another car jump through the inside of turn 4 as well, so maybe that was in avoidance of where the Lotus was located. McLaren going slowly as well on the inside, looks okay, can't see any issues, so hopefully just trying to find some space, but picking up a lot of dirt on his tyres.
See how busy it all of a sudden gets, doesn't it? So, you know, drivers in that first part were looking for clear track space. Here, of course, you queue up at the end of the pit lane and out you go, and inevitably you're in traffic. That is Gabriele Piana, whose mood would have changed. When I saw him at lunchtime, he looked decidedly Albert's mother, having had that drama in GT3, but now he's pole in GT4, very happy.
You could say he's driven the wheels off that car.
Wrong car.
Oh, yeah.
So Piana the quickest outright by 0.246 of a second. Another of those ever so smart Caymans turns through. That is Tim Horrell, the American driver, a wheelchair user, the disabled driver Tim Horrell. The car adapted for him, and he came into the championship at the back end of last year and was quick.
Really quick, and he's hustling on hard. He had a huge slide through Le Beauce. They could actually hear the tyre just scrubbing over on itself, so he is pushing hard. Looks like the Ginetta feels like it's being held up ever so slightly. Going in deep there, the Porsche just trying to veer off, but then you can see he's going to be compromised into the last corner. Maybe this will give the 51 Ginetta a chance to overtake down the pit straight.
Yeah, the Ginetta, which was in the early days of GT4, one of the types of car really that kept it alive, but you don't see that many of them these days, although Ginetta's racing activities, the racing championships that it has, now part of the SRO family. So SRO looking after the Ginetta championships like the GT Series and Ginetta Juniors, which are regulars at British GT events. Indeed, Ginetta Juniors kick off this weekend at Donington Park. But there, Sacha Botterman in another of the Audis accelerates towards us. That's another of the team speed car cars, shared with Vinny Beltramelli, down now through turn 3.
Yeah, and finally Modica down the inside, so he got time for 3 more laps potentially, definitely 2 at the end of this. To see if he can go, but at the moment he's the fastest Pro-Am in Q2. You can see 20th overall. We said it was going to be hard for any of these Pro-Am cars to trouble the silver graded drivers, so maybe worth touching on what the gradings mean. Silver mean they're sort of a young pro. They haven't quite made it yet, but they're young and fast. You have gold drivers, which are in the Pro-Am cars in Q1, and now you have the bronze rated drivers, the amateur drivers in the Pro-Am cars, the cars with the green colour backgrounds on your timing tower. So they're amateurs, so they're going to struggle to beat those silver graded drivers, of course, but that's the battle. And then you can see in 25th, the red background is the AM class, with 2 bronze drivers sharing the car together.
And all those classes very competitive in their own right. So just because you are only in the AM class doesn't mean that you've got nobody to race against. It's a very, very fierce battle there. Sacha Botterman turning through. We know from years past that he is a competitive driver as well. So it's all building up for a really, really good season again in GT4. Botterman being slightly compromised by the tail wagging Cayman, and there riding that really high curb. And you can see what an impact that can make.
Yeah, what we said about earlier, it throws the car up, but because the tyre momentarily loses contact with the ground, you lose grip and you lose traction and you lose lateral load as well. So that's why the car suddenly lost so much performance as he hit that curb. But if you leave too much gap to it, you're losing potential momentum as well. So that's the fine line as a racing driver. Too little, you're slow. Too much, you're slow. You always need perfection. So
Botterman heading then towards the timing line. Through he will go. What have we got before the flag? 3 minutes, give or take. You round it up. So Botterman goes by. That car is now 18th. And again, just touching back to number 1 Audi of Robert Consigny, your reigning champion. We had the car 20th at the end of Q1. It's 16th, and we're not quite at the end of Q2.
No, I think he's just got enough to stay in 16th because he is against the bronze-rated drivers in Q2 in this part. But there's going to be so much head-scratching going on with that number 1 car tonight.
Absolutely, it's like an Audi R7. It's just a bit missing, isn't it? And you're quite right, because the other Audis are further up the order. You know, Paul Petit is 7th, and so there's nothing notionally wrong with that car.
No, so it's not a balance of performance argument to be had, unfortunately, for them. It is going to just be making sure everything's okay with the car. There's something with the engine, the suspension, the damping. But it's not always easy to diagnose the problem. Sometimes the car can feel fine, it's just slow. Yeah, that's the worst. Even all the data you have on these cars, you sometimes don't know the actual issue.
And if it feels fine, presumably you get to the end of the lap and you think, oh, nailed it. And then somebody says, you know, P18 and your heart sinks.
Yeah. And you just hope it's an April Fool's or a joke. And then when they're serious, you're like, oh, wow, we're in the pain cave right now. There's no way out of this.
Now, this is Joachim Bulting taking over from Hendrik Still. We didn't think this was the most compliant of Caymans when Hendrik Still was behind the wheel. Now, this car in the hands of Joachim Bulting, who was another AM that got better and better and better last year, didn't he?
Yeah, not where we'd expect to see him either at the moment. He's 31st overall, 11th in class. We're much more used to seeing him at least in the top 5 in his session.
But he's got 2 personal bests, so although he's fighting the car a little bit out of Le Beauce here, he is on for an improvement as he goes now through Bendor on towards the Virage de la Tour, that next long right.
really having to be quite tentative with the steering inputs. We'll see if it's the same into the left-hander up here. He has to just kind of hustle the car gently in and then start to breathe on the throttle, and the throttle then instigates the oversteer. So it looks like maybe a bit too stiff on the rear axle, or too much rake in the car, so the rear ride height too high, but looks too aggressive for me in terms of the car. And if they left that setup on the race, it would only get worse as the tyre life starts to degrade.
And that last sector was no better, and so he stays, I'm afraid to say, 32nd. No improvement for a car that looked like it should have been, with improvement in Sector 1, improvement in Sector 2. This is Magic Mojica, Thibaut Mojica, the Mojica brothers, and the Ginetta G56 then down here at turn number 4 with the checkered flag now out. Robert Consonny update, he's dropped another place, he's down to 17th, the number 1, the reigning silver champion.
I can't start to understand what they'd be thinking. When you look at that, it's all doom and gloom, wouldn't it be good to get Bryn down there just to see if they can openly say there's a problem, or they're unsure and they're going to have a late night there. And sometimes you just, if you don't know, you just throw things at it, an engine change maybe, and whatever you can do to try and diagnose the problem.
Skipping over the curb there, Thibaut Mojica in the Ginetta, Yorkshire's finest GT brand. Powering his way on now towards senior. So qualifying at an end. This is the last lap anybody can record a time from. And Thibaut Mojica is not going to be on for an improvement. The car is 18th. His last lap was an improvement. It said out lap a moment ago, but his last lap was a 2:13.5. So I'd argue with that graphic. But the car did improve on the last lap, and I don't think... Well, it might be able to go quicker again. In fact, looking at the sectors, as long as it doesn't unravel in this last sector like we saw from Joachim Bulting, he ought to be on for an improvement.
He's definitely hustling hard. Missed the apex there at Mendo, and that's sometimes not the worst thing, because you miss it, you're going a longer distance, but you've missed it because of higher speed, so you can get away with it, and he's definitely going to finish the lap here. Can he do anything? Second in class at the moment for the Ginetta. I love watching this car. Pitches in it, rolls. It has quite a high ride height because of it being a very fast car. The balance of performance equals the car out, and higher ride height hurts it, and he crosses the line and he goes up to 17th, first in class.
Good effort then. So 2 improvements back to back, and Thibaut Mojica then goes 17th. That puts Robert Consonny 18th. That was Ravi Ramyid's McLaren finding curbs, and Ravi Ramyid 22nd. First competitive outing in this car, so he's learning all the time, and goes across the line. We've not touched on another of the Brits, by the way, Chris Salkeld, who is 19th. Ravi Ramyid 22nd, then just losing a little bit of time on that last lap. The last handful of cars then coming through to take the checkered flag to round out the session. And there, another of the Audis, you can see, which is the car that's already taken the checkered flag. Number 127 in the hands of Adrian Zelka, the Romanian driver, the Villiers Motorsport entry. 24 Porsche. Heading to the pit lane is the JSB car of Nico Ferrarin and JSB himself, Julien Brichet. So, pole for race 2, Gabriele Piana from Clement Seiler. And Gabriele Piana will be much happier now than when we saw him in GT3 terms. He's on pole and he's with Bryn.
Last season, you did so well from around halfway through to the end of the season. It seems like you're starting off 2026 in the same sort of vein, the same rich form.
Yeah, that's always the goal, you know, right, to start on the right foot. In the last couple of years, we have been struggling here in Port Ricard, and it's nice to be in front. And you know, I don't know what will happen, of course, but I'd rather start in first than in the back.
Have you learned from the last few years, as you say, learned from the last few years and taken that into this year, or is it just, you know, carry on as you've been going?
No, you always learn. Like you make so many mistakes that it would be a shame to just throw them all away without learning anything, right? So, no, of course, you keep building, you keep learning, and this is why the performance keeps getting better. You know, and kudos to the team, because nobody can go fast in a bad car. So they put the car together over the winter. They did the testing. They put it in the window, and we were quick straight out of the box yesterday already. So, not more to say.
Part 1 done, well done.
Thank you.
Top work by Gabriele Piana. He is one of the more experienced GT4 drivers, and he knows that car after many, many seasons. He's been racing BMWs in different championships with different teams, but it was with the Bock Motorsports squad that he won the silver title with Michael Schrei a few years back. So Piana from Sile in the front row, then it will be Fuchs and Hudson Schwartz for the second row. Eric Evans outpacing Alex Papadopoulos, and then Paul Petit from the Australian driver Lachlan Evanet. Next up, another of the much-travelled Americans, Sam Paley, 9th, and Charlie Hart rounding out the top 10. So 2 one-hour races for GT4 European Series coming up tomorrow here at the circuit Paul Ricard, the first of which is going to go green as the morning race will be on air at 10:45, race 2 at about 4:15. We know there's going to be action, and with 1 or 2 cars out of position after qualifying, then there's going to be a lot to keep an eye on. We'll go racing tomorrow for the opening races of GT4 European Series. We'll see you tomorrow. For now, from a sunny Paul Ricard, from Joe Osborne and David Addison, it's goodbye.